So, Will, I know that there is a genre of anime that you are particularly fond of.
Yeah? Is it isekais?
Of course it's isekais. You
Oh,
love an isekai, don't
yeah.
you?
I don't know,
you?
do I?
I'm
Yes.
forcing you to love
Yes.
isekai.
Yeah, so... Yeah, let's talk about an isekai. Which isekai should we talk about, Sam?
We're going to talk about the hottest and most contemporary isekai that is, the one that is on the lips of every person who has been watching anime for this past season. We're going to be talking about the Eminence in Shadow.
Okay.
Will, what did you think of the first 3 episodes of the Eminence in Shadow? What's going on? Who are our characters? What's the plot?
All questions I asked throughout this show.
And continue to ask going into episode 3.
Genuinely very confused by what is happening in this show. The first episode seems to be like just a bit of a ruse.
A misdirect, almost.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's just, we're going to throw you into this regular world, which seems very sort of... It reminds me of the film Kick-Ass. It's just like this vigilante, wears a mask, goes around defending the city. And then we get...
Slayer.
And then it just suddenly takes at the end of the episode. I tell you what, my habit of sort of not watching post-credit sequences, I could have very easily have just, but there was so much left on the time. I was like, I'll just click through and double check that there's nothing after the
Let's just
credits.
Just be sure.
I would have, if I hadn't have watched that last segment, I think I would have just sort of had even less of a clue than I do now.
You would have been completely in the dark. Episode 2 starting.
There is so much. Right. So, yeah, I still really don't know what this show is trying to be or what is happening. So, the main character we thought was going to be this Nishino girl, and that's like the point of view from the first episode, and then it suddenly shifts into Kagano.
Over to Sid. Sid Kagano.
Sid. Okay, we'll go with Sid.
Sid, yeah. Just a full-on, just normal-ass name, and I love it.
Yeah. There is only one other Sid in media, right?
Yeah, Sid from Final Fantasy, the one that has existed in every single Final Fantasy. There's a different Sid every single time.
No, it's Sid the Sloth. Obviously.
Oh, no, that's with an S. Come on, man.
All right, fine.
Be better.
Sorry, Sid with a C. I mean, I did know that because I watched it in sub today. I didn't watch it in dub.
Oh,
yeah,
very good.
So Sid then becomes our protagonist out of the blue, and he Mushoku Tensei's his way into this isekai world of fantasy, and basically it's Mushoku Tensei. He's got his memories as a baby. He wields magic and tries to manipulate the world to his own design, but also like
because he wants to become the Eminence in Shadow.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen the first 3 episodes, go watch it. Oh, Sam, can you put in
come back?
Can you put in a warning at some point, because I'm like, if people haven't seen this, we're spoiling everything right now. But if you haven't seen this, go see it.
We are about to spoil the first 3 episodes.
We already have in base. So there are.
We have spoiled the first episode of The Eminence in Shadow. Yeah, no, there is a full-on bait and switch in the first episode. Like, I watched this as it was airing, and I was like, oh, brilliant. We're going to have some sort of, like, really cool, grounded, like, anime about this guy who wants to be a hero, and he's using the crowbars to, like, beat up bad guys, and he's
Crowbar
super
Man.
powerful, and it's Crowbar Man beating up bad guys whenever you can. And I was really into that, and I was like, I love this. And then the end of episode 1 happens, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What is... It's an isekai? What do you mean it's an isekai? And there's the slight perception that maybe he threw himself in front of that truck.
Yeah.
Like, he was training, but also, did he think that this would work? Like, I don't know.
So, what I think the big takeaway for me is this show, and I don't know what it is. I don't know how to really put my finger on it. or how to really articulate it, but it seems like he's in control of this world somehow. Like everything he says comes off, everything by accident seems to have an effect into the plot. So it feels very dreamlike, as if like this is all he's just dreaming.
This is his like last few moments as he's bleeding out on that country road.
Effectively, yeah. Or that he's or some form of escapism. And it reminds me very much. It sort of threw a lot of nostalgia into my brain as I was watching this, because I was thinking of like when I was a kid, and you walk into the shops with your mum, but you're not in the shops because in your head you're a secret agent, and you're defeating all the bad guys around, but no one else can know. So like, no one else is in on it. And as your childlike imagination just runs rampant, you're there like shooting bad guys and capturing.
I'm the protagonist of my own story.
Yeah, exactly. And everything around you, there's villains around every corner, and you're like defeating them, but no one really sees what's going on. And then your real life merges
it's like when
with
you're
it.
in the car and you're imagining somebody you're like running fast
alongside. Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
He's doing parkour over all the things. Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was just me.
I'm glad that this isn't like an isolated thing. I thought I was crazy, and then people started being like on Twitter, just like, "Oh yeah, did anybody else like start imagining like Sonic the Hedgehog outside your window running alongside the car?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, we are not individuals."
I know.
Everybody's had the same thought. Thank
oh my god,
bloody god.
That has just changed my
Maybe it's just like
outlook on life.
Your entire outlook on life.
Yeah.
It's like, good. We're all as absolutely batshit insane as each other.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
And Sid Kagano is the most batshit insane out of all of us, because he is not only role-playing the person he wants to be, he's role-playing the person he wants to be, and apparently everything he says comes true. And for me, for the first 3 episodes, the penny didn't drop until episode 3, because I was like, oh, it's another power fantasy isekai, it's another protagonist who's like the best at doing whatever, he's got this whole slime thing that's going to make him super overpowered, and in my head I was like, oh, the first episode was so sincere in having Sid be this like ally of justice, and he's fighting against bandits and like molesters and whatever. And then to go to the fantasy world and he's still being super earnest. The joke didn't land until episode 3 when they actually start fighting like the cult of Diablos, and it turns out, this is a real thing.
Right, yeah.
That he's willed into existence. So for me, I was expecting this sincere isekai where he gets powerful and then he creates the Eminence and Shadow Group and does whatever. But it seems like I was hoodwinked, because the whole joke is he's role-playing the guy he wants to be, and the world is bending over backwards to make what he wants real, it seems.
Yeah.
At least in these first 3 episodes.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So, and it's really... Is he now just like in a mental institution because he's got brain trauma from the car accident, and now he's just talking to a wall, and like this is all going on in his head. Like I don't know how they're going to explain it off in the end. I'm really curious because it is really bizarre. Like I think that's the biggest thing from this show. I'm just like I really want to know what is going on. What's
actually happening? Like usually with isekai they have some sort of broken power, right? Like Kirito is the best at using 2 swords, or in Mushoku Tensei, Rudius is like he's applying himself from an early age, so he gets really good at magic. Here, it seems like he's getting the cake and getting to eat it as well. He's really good at magic and fighting, but also everything that he wants to happen is happening.
Yeah. But I wonder whether like it could even just keep twisting all the way along, and obviously I haven't seen past episode 3. I'm assuming you've seen it all.
I have finished the season, 20 episodes in.
Cool. So I could see this just going, now, because he's moved location so much. There's so much like in terms of the feel of, like he's gone from this real world thing to this medieval city where he's medieval village, and now he's in the city that is very modern looking in essence. Like it's a lot more modern buildings and everything, and they're going to school to learn these different skills. And so there's lots of shifts in genre.
A high school arc.
Yeah, the high school arc. And then, like, after a couple of episodes, he'll get transported to something else, and it'll be, I don't know, like a space adventure, and he'll have to be the best soldier,
spaceman ever.
Yeah, like he could just keep jumping around as his whims and fancies take him on all these different explorations. Could be a really cool sort of just isolated little adventures.
A deconstruction of the genre. It's just like, what do I want to do this week? I want to do sci-fi, so Sid's going to go do some sci-fi stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to do high fantasy, so here's some elves. Like it could go anywhere.
Yeah.
At this point,
I don't think it will, but it just hit. Now we've sort of like. Now I'm thinking about it. It probably won't. But do you know what I mean? It's just that the opportunities are there, and at this stage, I'm like, I have no idea what's happening. No idea.
Yeah,
it's cool.
I think that's a bit of a barrier, though. Personally. Because I didn't click with the joke of the he says something and then it becomes reality. Like, because it's taking itself so seriously at every single step, like from the music to the animation to
the classical music,
voice acting.
Yeah,
everything is like leaning itself to being like, I've been reincarnated. I'm serious about this. I'm gonna like up-level my skills and do this. And then he starts mentioning the Diablos cult and stuff like that, and the fact that he says it with such conviction, but then we hear his monologue about it being made up, but then it's an actual thing.
But then it's not even it's not even just what he says, it's things that he does by accident. Like he gets lost, and then
like pointing on the map and stuff.
Hitting the spot on the map. Oh, that must be the hidden base, and it is. It's like, that was really confusing, because I was like,
yeah. I was sitting there just being like, oh,
what?
So he's guessing, and then suddenly, like, there's conflict and there's actually people there, and I'm like, so was it a fluke, or was it
Matrix
intentional?
The Matrix is rewriting itself around his character. It's
around Sid, yeah.
What's that? There's a film or a show or something, and I can't remember what it is, where, like, it's like the Truman Show. Everyone agrees with Truman.
I was going to say Truman Show.
Yeah, it's a bit like that, but I'm sure
everything is, like, twisted to match like trying
to convince him that it's fine, this is real, this is the real thing. In that new-ish Harry Styles film, is it the same? I think it's a very similar premise in that.
Oh yeah, the big spoilers for whatever the new Harry Styles film is. It's Call Me by Your Name, maybe. No, that's the gay one in France. Whatever it is. Yeah, the one that like was plagued with issues like during the press tour. Like, it turns out that it's a fake world.
Don't worry, darling.
Don't worry, darling. That's what it is. Yeah, it turns out it's like a fake VR world that he's forced
his
wife to like experience. Yeah.
And she's very much
the same kind of thing. Like,
she's very much Sword Art Online, where she's like just laying in a bed and he has to like clean and look after her while she's under. Yeah, it's a weird movie, man. I haven't even seen it. I've just watched reactions to.
Yeah, I've just listened to commentaries on it. It doesn't sound like a good film.
I don't think it's terrible. I just think it's a bit.
You've not really seen it. You can't say that you don't think it's terrible if you've not seen the movie.
I can off other people's reviews. Other people have said like it's not terrible, but
my opinion is informed by what I've seen. I will not make any judgment calls for myself.
Well, I haven't seen it, so I can't. I can only go off what other people have said.
Exactly. So we can't. So what, you can't.
You haven't seen it. You haven't seen it either, and you just said you don't think it's very good. How can you say that it's not very good? I can say
like it doesn't sound like a good movie.
And I'm saying I think it sounds like an okay movie.
Yeah, you're strawmanning me here. I think this is
you're using the same argument. You haven't seen it either. We're on the same page here.
Look, let's just all agree that
Don't
okay. Worry, Darling is a bad movie. Let's just all like agree with that flat across, and let's restart this relationship and start talking about the Eminence and Shadow.
Okay, fine, whatever.
Let's get back on track.
That's distinctly what I didn't say, but fine. Yeah, let's go with it. Eminence and Shadow is
hit a gaslight.
Yeah, clearly.
Gaslight girl boss.
Yeah. Wait, that was your idea.
What? Will, what are you talking about?
Moving on.
You're crazy.
So yeah, you
Eminence and Shadow.
Yeah, you liked the first part, and then it took this big shift, and we still don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like, again, another sort of bit that was very odd was the moment when his entourage, his what do you call them? His
two new friends. Yeah.
No, I was gonna say the. Oh wait. Yeah, no, not the two new friends. The entourage of women that he has at the beginning before school. He has the
Shadow Garden.
Yes, the Shadow Garden, and then they just like up and leave in normal clothes, and it's like he's like, well, everyone grows up, and it refers back to the beginning when like people grow out of their fantasy of wanting to be the hero. These girls have grown up.
He reckons
and
that they're
on.
like they're done with his illusion, like they're done with his role playing. But actually,
but then that to me,
no,
that to me, well, maybe, I don't know. Like it's not explained. Like to me, that sort of reinforces the idea that this is all in his head, or this is like him playing make believe alongside reality. And it's like, oh, we've actually got to this stage where these girls have had enough, and he plays it off as they're going off into the world to explore for whatever else. But then there's this narration, and it's like, yeah, everyone grows up eventually. So it sort of reveals that he knows that this isn't reality, and that they're just playing along. And again, like that scene when he throws the knife and he finds the hidden base, it does very much feel like that improv situation where you just say yes. So like he throws the knife.
And.
Yeah, yes, and
he's yes-anding his way through like everything.
But so are the other characters. Like she goes, "Oh yeah, that's where the base is. You knew that hidden base was there. Wow, let's go fix it." And he's like, "Yeah, good acting. Yeah, well done." It does just feel like a massive improv.
It does, and a lot of Sid's motivation and character work that we see throughout these first things is like, I want to be the background character who has a secret side to him, and he's explaining that to the audience the entire time. And then when the lead Shadow Garden members leave, it's like, oh, this isn't in the script.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, a bit, yeah.
It was very, very jarring, I think.
Yeah.
For me as a viewer to kind of come into it and be like, oh, here's the OP, and it's showing all of these like big, like the 7 women in an alternate dimension doing all these like weird superhero things and with all this magic. So they must be main characters, only for them to just be kind of like in the background, just there. That like we don't get any explanation for Alpha or Beta or like any of the call signs.
She was a weird squid thing.
Oh,
that, like...
I have 5 more members now. Okay, cool. And then we're leaving now.
No,
okay.
They're like, aren't they like gods incarnate? Like they seem that they talk about.
Like, Sid has bestowed upon them the power of slime, and of course. Slime, as we all know, thanks to not Mushoku Tensei, that time I got reincarnated as a slime, is the most powerful ability that you can have. Yeah. And he's given it to these women, and they're just like, goodbye, we're going to just do our own thing now. And I'm like, what? What does that even mean? And then we just suddenly are dropped into this high school fencing arc, where he's like, I like your fencing, it's very ordinary. And I'm like, this is not what I was promised.
No,
first I was promised a vigilante in the real world. Then I was promised like a kid who was going to become the strongest ever because he has prior memories and he can apply himself.
Yeah.
And now suddenly I'm like, oh, and now you're in a faux relationship with this woman to get 2 gold pieces a day for whatever. And I'm like, and pretend what like is going on?
Yeah, I think I've cracked it now. And third theory, I think this is probably theory 5 or 6, to be honest, by this point. But he's in a hospital bed and he's watching different shows and he's imagining himself in those shows. He's just flicking through the channels and he's imagining himself in these worlds and he's in the background solving everything.
What if today it was a high school rom-com? What if today it was an isekai? What if today it was just... Oh.
Or maybe
that's a common theory for Pokemon. That all of Pokemon is just like Ash's last thoughts.
Yeah.
As the Spearow pluck out his eyeballs.
Yeah. It's plausible.
Yeah.
It's plausible. But
it could happen. Do you know the last episode of Pokemon is airing this week?
No, I didn't.
Ash's journey is finally coming to an end.
Until next
They're replacing him. No, like dead ass. He's done.
Dead Ash.
They're retiring Ash. Dead Ash. Dead Ash.
By retiring, they're just gonna kill him. Just kill him off. Pikachu goes rogue.
Like, it's just gonna like fade to white and then just open in a hospital bed.
Professor
tubes.
Yeah. Professor Oak's there like, Pikachu just shocked him one too many times. It was just that last shock that got him.
I knew he should have been grounded. His mum's there just crying.
Yeah.
And Oak's like putting like a suspicious hand around the mother. Like, it's okay. Don't worry.
Yeah.
We're here to support him.
Took a weird twist. So Eminence's Shadow.
Dark.
What do we like? I've sort of run out of steam with it a little bit. I don't really know what else there is to say. It's very bizarre.
There's not enough there. I think the crux is it starts very strong with a really interesting concept of this vigilante, and then
ooh, a vigilante. Enchanté. Yeah.
Enchanté. Omelette du fromage. I speak a little bit of the French. Do you like escargot? I like it escargot with some garlic. I'm going to stop before France cancels me.
Yeah. Good idea.
It starts with a really strong premise of this vigilante, and then everything else, it's almost like it's trying to claw back airtime to kind of actually introduce the proper premise of the show, which is I say something, it becomes reality, but also I want to be a background character, but I also want to be the protagonist.
But does that happen in episode 3?
There's too much. No.
Like, does he say stuff and it happen in episode 3? Because it doesn't feel like he does. He sort of loses he loses a bit of control because, she forces him to be a boyfriend.
Stuff, right?
Yeah. She forces him to be a boyfriend now, and he's like, "I'm not really about this." And then, stuff happens, and he seems really annoyed about it. Like, it's not going the way he wants. And then she disappears, and he's sort of he's being questioned and stuff as he's a suspect for her kidnapping or whatever. And yeah, then it just feels like he's maybe I can't think of an instance in episode 3 when something goes his way.
He's in control. Yeah. No, episode 3 is showing off his, I guess, idealized version of what he wants to do. It's him as the background character. It's him playing the role of a bit part, which he wants to be. He wants to be the bit part that is also the protagonist when you don't understand it. So episode 3 is kind of, I guess, setting up the premise of the whole show. But that's episode 3. If you were watching this on Japanese TV, as it was airing, you'd be like, oh, cool, we're going to get a gritty, grounded guy fighting against bandits. Oh, but he's been reincarnated. Okay, cool, we're going to get a guy like Mushoku Tensei who's building... Oh, but he's now he's at high school. It pulls the rug almost too many times for you to commit.
So what you're saying is
the show's about.
You're just pissed off, mate. You're just annoyed that the show.
I am pissed off. What is this show? What does it want to be? I want it to be episode 1.
Can't you just enjoy the ride? That's my question.
I can enjoy the ride, and I clearly did because I kept going with the rest of the show. But I just want it to be more consistent.
But maybe it's not about consistency, this show. Maybe the whole premise is that it is a bit sort of off the wall. If you want consistency, dude, go watch another show. I mean, every show's got its niche. I don't know. I'm just saying, you want plain Jane, go watch Rugrats.
Go watch Sword Art.
Yeah, go watch Sword Art. My go-to show.
What did you think then? With each episode almost being completely different genre-wise, how did that make you feel towards the show?
So I'll be honest, I didn't like the initial arc as much as you, so I think I wasn't that annoyed when it changed. So I thought it was interesting. But again, I felt like the main girl, I felt it was slipping into the typical trope where the main girl was just a damsel in distress because she sort of just relied on this hidden mysterious figure to save her. And I was like, okay, so he's the guy we're going to follow. And she's just there as sort of damsel in distress mode. And then it shifted and I was like, okay, this is interesting. We're going into this isekai world. It's very Mushoku Tensei in the way the baby just wakes up and then like he remembers everything. And then they don't even play off that at all. Like they don't even show...
Yeah, no, it just skips.
It just skips to like him being grown and it had no impact. And I think that's what confused me the most. Like the first... They don't even... They show one very brief snippet of a scene when they show the truck hitting him again. But bar that, there is no reference to his previous life whatsoever. So it's very much like that wasn't needed in anything, even to set up any character things, because we go over his whole premise of wanting to be a background character again in episode 2, I think, or 3. So there's So there's no narrative purpose to that, and there's he doesn't take anything from his previous life. There's nothing that he benefits from. He doesn't seem to be any different based on where he is now from it. You know, there's nothing influencing him in this new world from his previous life. So it's completely pointless at this stage. Like it could come back. It could come back and sort of loop around. And I am surprised they didn't drop things in like, I don't know, flashbacks or cutscenes where it like alludes to what was going on previously. But
I something think, from the regular world that is informing why he's acting like he is now. Like again, like Mushoku Tensei, like why we find out about him not leaving the village and like why he has like issues.
The big thing about Mushoku is that his original personality has a direct impact on everything that happens because he's able to train because he's conscious he's got he's got awareness from birth, and his insecurities and things influence the plot, and his desires and everything like that, it all directly links. Whereas this, apart from the desire to be a background hero, which is re-established in the second episode anyway, there's nothing. So yeah, I don't know. I think I'm willing to give it a try because I think it's trying to break new ground. I feel like it's trying to do something a bit different, and I think I'm intrigued a lot more than anything. I understand your criticisms around it, but I think because it is weird and it's like a bit jarring, but I'm willing to give it the chance to sort of grow because I feel like they are trying to do something new, and with that, there's always going to be a bit of discomfort and a bit of uncanny. Uncanny Valley is not the right phrase, but you know what I mean. Just a bit.
Uncanny Valley, growing pains, maybe.
Yes, growing pains.
It's trying to figure out what it wants to be initially, and then.
But also, I think there's always the benefit of like in hindsight, you've seen all 20. You don't seem any more happy about it, but that could just be a good act for like not to spoil things for me. But I could see this having revelations and things later down the line that when you look back, it all makes sense. But who knows?
I'll say non-spoilery. Like, I enjoyed my time with the show. Like, it's interesting. It takes things in a new direction. It's not just your typical isekai, power fantasy power trip. And I have to give it props for that. Yeah. To be fair, cool. But based on the first 3 episodes, like it is so wild. You are swinging left to right, like constantly. But is that something that's interesting? Yeah. I'm compelled by the first episode as much as I'm compelled by episode 2. I think episode 3 is maybe the weakest because it's now like time to go to high school. Ta-da!
Yeah.
Like, but also we know so much about Sid at this point and like what's going on in his headspace and kind of the fact that the world does seem to be bending to his whims. That is this just another part of that? Is the world bending to give him this normal experience where he is the dog that jumps for the coins? Like,
Is that a normal experience for you, Sam?
You know, depends how much you're paying me.
Yeah. Okay, let's not go there. Okay, so if you were going to rate this, would you say, where would this land? You know, you've got your Annie list. How would this rank?
I do have my Annie list.
Have you already rated it on there?
I have already rated it on there, to be fair.
Right.
And I think my rating, like, through this discussion, my rating hasn't shifted.
Okay.
What do you think my rating would be for this?
Oh, so I mean, there's a lot of variables because whenever you scale anything, it all depends on how your scale is positioned. I think you're usually fairly conservative with your ratings. I would say this is a 6.7.
A 6.7? Yeah. No, I gave this a solid 6.
Oh, wow. Okay.
On the dot, it's a 6. For me, personally. But I know that a lot of people, especially in the wider anime community, they loved this. Like, they loved the Eminence in Shadow.
Okay.
It was one of the most upvoted Reddit threads each week when the anime episodes came out. It's currently sitting on like a really positive score on AniList and My Anime List. So, you know, I could see more casual viewers getting into it. I think maybe I've brought too much bias into it. I've brought too much jaded isekai opinions towards it. So, you know, I could see this hooking somebody. I could see this like being something that you should check out. Maybe.
All right. Well,
maybe
people will. Should we move on?
Let's move on.